want to ask me a question, raise your hand, that's fine. Or alternatively, use the chat box and I'd be more than happy to answer your question. If you want to change the viewing in the gallery, you're most welcome to do so. This will be at the top right hand of your screen. Now, we have 5 objectives, and normally this is quite a lot, but I've tried to break those objectives down to really make this course as interactive, engaging, and memorable as possible. First of all, I want us to understand the concept of women empowerment. Now, I do a lot of empowerment coaching workshops anyway. And when we talk about women empowerment, I need to start, first of all, by explaining to you what exactly is empowerment. And that's a concept we're going to be starting with first. We then look at how to become more empowered. And I'm going to be asking you some questions. But really, I want you, as we go through the course, to maybe make a few mental notes as to what you could be doing perhaps differently, what you could be reframing when you go to the workplace, because ultimately you have to take that first step. I will be giving you 3 key messages that have been very powerful for me. And in each of these key messages, I will also be explaining how I apply them with my female executives. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm an executive coach for C-level, ministerial level, and I love coaching the senior female leaders of the UAE, okay? The next objective will be our blind spots. Believe it or not, we do have blind spots. And the 4 blind spots I'm going to be looking at, we really need to make sure that we have our eyes open, we are aware, but more importantly, we don't become the problem, okay? And then finally, I'm going to end up with my advice to women and how we can take what we've learned on today's 45-minute session back into the workplace, and not only in the workplace. Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to think beyond the workplace. I actually want to think about this in life, okay? So first of all, when I say empowerment, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Please put it in the chat box. Feel free to shout out, but I'm interested to know, when you hear that word empowerment, what does it mean to you? Okay. Power given to someone else, leadership, authority, free will, control, strength, freedom, fantastic. So Omaima, I love yours about control. Nicole, encourage. Nadine, power given to someone to do something. Rita, authority. Shalomi, leadership. Nicole, free will. I love it. Saba, strength. Sarah, freedom. So my next question, should empowerment only be for women, or should it be for everybody? What do you think? Absolutely. Thank you. Arita, Archana, Sarah, empowerment should be given to everybody. So before I make a start, I want to make something very clear. Yes, Rita, you hit it on the head. All who are capable to be empowered. This workshop is women empowerment to support Women Emirati Day. However, we as women also want to empower our sons, also want to empower our husbands, also want to empower our male colleagues. So the messages that I'm going to be telling you today are from my personal experience, but ultimately can be applied to everybody. So when we talk about empowerment, it is the process of increasing the authority and responsibility of individuals or groups to make choices and to transform those choices into desired actions and outcomes. Their actions, their choice and how they transform it. So we've got a definition of empowerment. What is women empowerment? Women empowerment, in my definition, is being, accepting, and believing in yourself. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody's going to believe in you. Lesson number one, we have to believe in ourselves. We have to believe our ability. That is paramount. To find your voice and take charge of your choices. So ultimately, we need to take that first step. We need to take charge of the choices we have. And to a certain degree, we talked about blind spots, but rather than being reactive, let's take a step back and work on how to be more proactive, how to really look around us and see what are the choices that we're perhaps missing. It means not allowing opinions and expectations of others to dictate what you do or how you feel. Together, we need to change the way the world sees us by taking the first step. This is my definition of women empowerment. Now, it's quite a big definition, but ladies, something that I want to share with you that has been happening, I would say, more frequently now, and I can't seem to put my finger on it. And I'd like to see what you think. I'm dealing with a lot of females who are moving up into senior positions. But there is one gender that seems to be wanting to hold them back. I'd like to ask you, which gender do you think it is? Do you think it is male or female?
Could you repeat?
Yeah, sure. So I'm dealing with a lot of female managers moving up to senior organizations. And one of the biggest barriers I keep on encountering is one particular gender putting obstacles in front of them so they cannot proceed as fast.
Females.
Yes.
Females put barriers for females. I would have said males, but because I have seen it myself, it's females. Bring females down.
Okay. So thank you for being so straightforward. And, you know, I'm looking, Sonia Atti, thank you. Nadine. Rita, yes, sometimes both. Saba, yes. Archana. You know, this is a sad thing, ladies. And what we need to understand is by putting more leadership roles by women in place, it paves the way for us to move forward. And together we are stronger. That this is a common occurrence that I'm experiencing time and time again. Women empowerment should be women empowering women, not women working against women so they don't feel empowerment. And I want us to really take this serious. Now, a gentleman called Lao Tzu, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. As we go through this, remember, I'd like you to start thinking how, where, and when you can take that first single step towards empowering yourself. So I'd like to know what the statistics say, and I'd like you to tell me which of these you think is true or false. And I've got some recent statistics from 2021 in the UAE. Yay! I found some. So, number one, women currently sit on the boards of 28 out of 110 companies on UAE stock markets. True or false? What do you think? Okay, Sonia, false?
True.
It is actually true, yes, which is great. But it's not that great, okay? We're making headway, but it's still a long way to go. For every 100 men promoted to manager level roles, 95 women moved up in similar roles. True or false?
False.
It is false. Actually, it was 79 women. And for those of you who saw the advertisements for this course, it was actually explained there. Men are twice as likely to be mistaken for much junior employees. True or false? Actually, Nicole, yes, it is false. Women are. Now, I'm going to take you back down to memory lane here. 2008, I went to a meeting with 2 male colleagues and myself. The client automatically assumed I was the secretary and told me I can wait outside. They've got somebody to take the notes for the meeting. The 2 gentlemen were my team who report directly to me. And I said to my client, I said, actually, it's okay, I'll sit in. And he's like, no, please, have a cup of tea. I can see it's a long meeting. Let the men deal with it. I was very polite and I just said, actually, I'm the owner and the decision maker, so I think it's better that I'm in the meeting, but I appreciate you taking the time to consider this. Now, lesson number 2, ladies and gentlemen, do not become the people we despise. His assumption was his assumption, but I can't be him. Do not become those people. So earlier on, we said women bring women down. Do not become those women. Rise above it. Empower yourself. Number 3, a team with men and women usually works best. True or false?
True.
Absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, I do a lot of gender intelligence. The male brain, the female brain, completely different brains. But together, oh my gosh, they can work miracles. Let's work together and not work against each other. Women are nearly twice as likely to report needing to provide more evidence of their competence. True or
True.
Yes, absolutely. Women negotiate for raises and promotions as often as men do. True or false?
False. False.
Actually, it's true. I'm going to throw some data here. Women don't just negotiate as much as men do. A study conducted in corporate America in 2018 said over the last 2 years, 29% of men and 31% of women have negotiated for a rise, and 36% of men and 37% of women negotiated for a promotion. It's in America, I know, but hey, the statistics show we are making headway here. Number 7, 29% of women versus 15% of men believe their gender will be an obstacle to advancement in the future. True or false? Yes. Now, something about this, and one of the key messages is going to be talking about the glass ceiling and the broken rung. Ladies and gentlemen, there are women in senior roles. There are women in the workplace, which is great. That's not the problem. How do we get these women to stay in the workplace and move up in the organization? That's what I want. Number 8, the UAE has the highest level of women participating in the workplace. True or false?
True.
It is true, which is great. Once again, get them to those leadership positions. So we're going to be looking at stereotyping. Do we stereotype people when we first meet them?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We do, right? And I know we don't want to admit it, but ladies and gentlemen, we stereotype. We've got it somewhere in there and we can't seem to rewire it. Number 10, of the women who sit on boards in the UAE, they only make up around 23.5%. True or false?
It's kind of true. It's the same as the number one, so true, yes.
You think it's true? Okay.
I don't know.
Actually, it's false. It's 3.5%. 3.5%. And this is why is it we have 57.5% of women in the workplace, but 3.5% sitting on boards? And that is what we really need to start thinking about. So a little bit of a reality check for you. A report by McKinsey & Company in 2018 actually compared men and women in the workplace. I've got some percentages and I'm going to show you how the percentages differ between men and women. Under pressure to perform was 38%, while men was 26%. On guard, and what I mean by on guard, having to defend, having to explain, having to justify. 31% men was 11. Feeling left out, 25%, which is really sad, while men was 11%. Your actions reflecting on people like you, 22%. For men, it was 8%. And feeling closely watched, 22, while men was 7%. So, you know, I'm going through these statistics. I just like to ask you, give me a thumbs up. How many of you can relate to this? How many of you have felt under pressure to perform, on guard, left out, and closely watched? Well, let's see what we can do about it. Now, the question is that I want to ask ourselves is, what are we going to do to make sure we are not having this same conversation in 3 years' time? Let's get ourselves started on the second objective. The second objective is how to become more empowered. I'm going to ask you 4 questions. And what I want to make very clear is I'm not expecting everyone and every female to be in the workplace. No, I have a lot of friends who are at home, yet they feel empowered at home. Wherever you are, I want you to feel empowered. It's just that this particular session today is just going to focus on women in the workplace. So give me a thumbs up if you have said one of these 4 things to yourself. I'm going to be a manager. One day I'm going to be the CEO of a company. I'm going to be the director. One day I'm going to be the minister of a country. I have 1, 2 thumbs, 3, 4 thumbs, 5, 6. Okay. 7, Dania, thank you very much. So now what's concerning me is, and that's okay if you haven't said this to yourself, but if you haven't, can you share the reasons why you haven't? Now, one reason could be, I'm happy where I am. You could just be, you're happy where you are in your life. And there's nothing wrong with this. But are there other reasons why you have not said that to yourself? Share it out or put it in the chat box. I want to know, please. If anyone feels comfortable sharing it. Okay.
I guess there's too much competition, maybe.
Okay. Brilliant. Too much competition. Fantastic. So could it have been because you're not sure you can do the job? Number one. No females before you have done the job, so you doubt that this will be possible for a female to do it. Or your family would object. Now remember, ladies and gentlemen, we can't possibly be discussing this and not consider the culture of the UAE. Or you don't know how to. So how do we fix this? Now, at the outset, ladies and gentlemen, I want to be very honest with you. I don't have all the right answers. I mean, I don't even have all the right answers for myself. But today, I want to ask yourself, what can we do as individuals? What messages do we need to tell ourselves? What messages do we need to tell the women that work with us and for us? And more importantly, what are the messages we need to tell our daughters? Now, I don't have any daughters. I have a lot of female friends. I have 2 sons. But I try to empower them. And more importantly, I try to get them to see beyond gender, beyond nationality, beyond culture, beyond race, beyond everything. And I try to get them to look at people as people. So my 3 key messages to you are as follows. Ladies and gentlemen, assert yourself. So I'm going to tell you a story which happened about 12 months ago. I was coaching one of my C-level clients who happened to be a female, and we were preparing to go to a board meeting. When we walked into the boardroom, we saw all of the chairs around the table, but there were 2 chairs put against the wall just by the window. The gentleman that makes the tea and the coffee escorted us to those 2 chairs. And I thought to myself, she's part of the senior management team. Why are we sitting there? And there's not 2 of me, there's 1 of me. So I told my client to sit on a chair at the table. Now, this took a lot of persuading, a lot. No, Natalie, the chairman said, obviously he knows. I said, no, you sit there. I will take what's coming to me, but as your coach, I would like you to take your seat at the table. So people started coming in, and she was the only female in the meeting, apart from myself, but I don't consider myself part of the meeting. Couple of funny looks. 15 minutes into the meeting, it was as if nothing happened. And she was engaged. She was encouraged to participate. What was the reason behind that? In actual fact, when I asked the gentleman that makes the tea and the coffee, he said it was out of respect. We didn't want her to feel uncomfortable. So we really have to ask ourselves, are we stopping us by not making the first move, by not asserting ourselves? So when I say assert yourself, not aggressively, but you need to believe in yourself, and you need to believe that you can make a difference. My message number 2, you need a good support network. So when I set up my company, I was alone. Boom, boom. 3 years later, 2 kids and a husband. Well, a husband and then 2 kids, if I'm putting in the right order. And I knew I needed support at home because I didn't want to stop working. And I'll tell you a story about 6 weeks after delivery of my first child. I was called into a meeting, and I said to my client, look, I just delivered. And he's like, what's the problem? And I said, there's no problem, but I'm nursing. And he said, so bring the baby, bring. I sat in a 4-hour meeting with my 6-week-old baby, and I felt great. Obviously, I changed the diapers every now and then, but not only that, I didn't feel I was pushed to one side because I was a mother with a child. I felt engaged. But when I told some of my friends, they were like, oh, no, this you cannot do. But the thing is, I could, and I did. I didn't stop myself. So have that support network. Have the support that gives you that encouragement. But I ask you another question. For those of you who have children, if your child is sick, who does the school call? Mother or father?
Mother.
Right? The mother. And there's been so many times I've got the call from the school, your son, your daughter, and I'm in the middle of work. Now, obviously, if it's something serious, I will drop and go. But, you know, young children, they want a bit of attention sometimes. I have the support structure to support me. And together, I can grow stronger in my role and empower myself. Now, the third message is
Can I just clarify this point, because I've been teaching for so long, so I guess I kind of understand the student or the child's mentality. The reason why they call the mother is because usually the child is more comfortable or attached with the mother than the father. So I think probably that's why.
Yes, you know, Sarah, I agree with you. You know, if anyone was to say, who would you call? It would be my mother. So this is also something we need to consider, right? Is do you have that support network in your workplace where you will not be reprimanded if you have to go and pick up your son or daughter from school? And that's the other question we need to ask ourselves. How supportive is the workplace for us?
Also, one more thing, when you said that you were nursing and you brought your child, it's because the person whom you were having the meeting or whatever the session with was supportive towards you.
Absolutely, yes.
But not everywhere people are that supportive.
No, and of course I had a nursing blanket and everything, but there were 15 people in that meeting. And yes, I felt a little bit uncomfortable, but I didn't let that uncomfortableness or those funny looks from other people stop me. I just thought, I'm here, I'm no less than everybody else. I just happen to have given birth. That's it. Right, my third message. Now, I'm sure you've all known about what we call the glass ceiling. Now, the glass ceiling was introduced about 40 years ago, and it's still here. And basically, it was something to do about an invisible systematic barrier that prevents women from reaching senior positions. Well, I don't agree with that at all. I think it's the broken rung. If you think of a ladder, the first step of the ladder is the one that's broken. How many women do we find as an administrator, a coordinator, an assistant, who want to get into that managerial role on the first step of the ladder, but they can't? So before we start talking about the glass ceiling, ladies and gentlemen, we need to fix the broken rung. We need to have systems in place that support us to take that first step, as opposed to expecting women are facing it at the top. Well, how many women reach the glass ceiling? We've seen the statistics, 3.5%. We need to address this a lot earlier on. And if we don't address that first step, we're never going to be on the road to reaching those senior positions. Remember, we have the highest number of women in the workplace, over 50%. Great. How many of those are working with a broken rung? We need to fix that broken rung and get them into those managerial positions. So what are the barriers? Anyone tell me, what are the common barriers that are there for women empowerment? Before we go into discussing this, I believe that there are 4 critical barriers and turning points for women, especially when we're trying to empower them. The first critical turning point is when they start work and they decide that they want to keep the job. The second is entering another position within the organization. The third is getting married, and the fourth is having children. These are critical points in any female's life. So if you don't get married, you don't have children, that's fine. And you're working, that's fine. Can anyone think of any other barriers that come to mind when we're talking about women empowerment? We've already discussed other women. Anything else that comes to mind? I'd love to hear your points of view, please.
I have one, but I don't want to say, it's kind of weird. Judgment bases on race or nationalities.
Yes, 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 yes. You know, stereotyping, right? Assuming that they're stereotyping and we're judging people. Certain positions shouldn't be performed by women. Certain positions shouldn't be performed by this kind of woman. Nadine, inequality, violence against women, absolutely. Threatening, you know, not only that, but you know, you've got the common things of jealousy, vindictiveness, but HR policies, society, Omana, thank you very much. Society culture. Does society culture encourage women empowerment? Barriers to education, I love it. Thank you, Nadine. Fantastic. So we do have a lot of barriers. Now, the biggest barrier, or one of the biggest barriers for me, is stereotyping. So I'm going to tell you a story about the two frogs. This story is about Mr. and Mrs. Frog. They were sleeping on the bed. Suddenly, a loud noise from nearby woke them up. One of the frogs hid under the bed, while the other one picked up a stick and ran towards the door. What qualities would you associate with the male, and what qualities would you associate with the female frog? So let's have a look. Here I've got some qualities, and I'd like you to tell me which of them would you give to the male and which of them would you give to the female frog? Number one, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to put it in the chat box, M for male, F for female. Number one, where is it?
Female. To be very honest, when you said one of them hid in the bed, I thought it was the male frog.
We have to introduce you to some other men, Sarah, okay? Okay. Number two, rational.
Male.
Okay. Sorry, number two. Number three, impatient.
Female.
Female.
Number four, weak.
None. I wouldn't go for any.
Okay, but if we're stereotyping, like it's not right or wrong.
Female, then it would be female if it's stereotype.
Number five, sensitive. Isan, Dania, thank you. Female, I'm looking at the chat box. Thank you, Arita.
Both. Sensitive, both. We think male, we consider that's a stereotype that male are not sensitive, but they actually are.
They are, they just don't like to show it. It's not masculine.
Mm-hmm. So that would be for both.
Right, got it. Number six, intelligent. Okay, I've got both there. Okay, we're being nice to them. And we do have some men on this course, so we need to be nice to them. Number seven, dependent.
Both.
Okay. Number eight, sorry, number seven, egotistic. Okay, I've got male.
Both.
Here.
Both.
Both.
Yes.
The chat box is males.
You don't think, sorry, you don't think females are egotistic?
I do think, but I believe they can work on that, you know? When ego is weighted with anything else, they do brush it off, and they can avoid ego if it comes to relationships, if it comes to decisions, but males, they're more empowered by their egos.
Okay, all right. Number 9, emotional. Remember, this is a stereotype. Let's just stereotype.
Okay. Women.
9, women. Number 10, authoritative.
Man.
Number 11, satisfied.
Female.
Got some people, okay, no, they're putting female there, okay. Number 12, adventurous. Okay, people
Male.
are putting, yep. 12. 13, rough.
Male.
Absolutely.
You said it's stereotype, so.
Yeah, 14, caring.
Both.
Okay, I've got female. Most people are putting female for caring. Okay, Dania, you put both. Okay. So we've got the numbers. Okay, tolerant. Numbers are a bit weird here. Where would you put tolerant?
Male.
Okay. Jealous.
Female.
Yes. I don't know why, but yeah. Okay. Number 15, forgiving.
Female.
Yes. 16, self-centered.
Male.
17, shy.
Female.
Female.
18, gentle.
Female.
Okay. And 19, aggressive.
Male.
Male.
Okay. So what do we realize? It's so easy to go back to the stereotypes, right? It's very easy. And, you know, once again, we're not saying one gender is better than the other gender. No. We're not saying only women should be empowered. No. What we want to say is, let's work together and appreciate our differences, because we have blind spots, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the 4 main blind spots that I want to talk about today very quickly are the belief that equality means sameness. It does not. Men are different, women are different. But we need to stop making assumptions on people's behavior, such as the gentleman that put the 2 chairs on the outside, assuming that he was being respectful, when in actual fact, I took it a bit of a slap across the face. The next blind spot is a male-designed organization. Look, ladies and gentlemen, organizations in the modern age were designed for efficiency, lifting heavy things. They were male-designed. We now need to also consider, how do our policies, how does our work environment support women? The number of times that I went to an office and they had no female toilets. I'm not proud, I use the men's toilet, I don't care. But still, this is a hidden message. Fixing women to think and act like men. So this was an approach in the early 90s where, you know, if you're going to be a woman in business, you've got to be tough. Forget about marriage, forget about family, be ruthless, wear a suit. Do you remember those? The movies, the televised adverts. We don't want to fix women to act like men. We want women to act like women and men to act like men. And the final is thinking and assuming male behaviors are intentional. They're not. They're just men. And we've got to think about how we can really ask questions about how they're treating us, why they're treating us this particular way. It's only when we ask questions to further understand, can we break down those blind spots? So I'm going to ask you some questions because I've got a couple of case studies. You have just submitted a sales proposal to a prospect. Who do you think would make a quicker decision, a male prospect or a female prospect? Who do you think? Male or female? Male.
Male.
Yeah,
A
you
male.
are right. So look, we're not saying males are much better decision makers. No, it's
No.
just the way they interpret information. Women like to think about the emotions. How's it going to impact? Really understand. Men, boom, boom, boom. So the blind spot here is a male-designed organization. Scenario 2, you're meeting your female client after a few days after presenting your initial proposal. You find her to be more talkative during this meeting. Is she likely to place an order with you or not? Yes or no? She's
Yes.
very
Yes.
yes. Blind spot now?
She wants, yeah, she wants to know more.
Right. She's eager to find out more. Scenario 3. You are meeting a client after submitting your proposal and the price was much more than what he expected to pay for your goods or services. Is he more likely to be talkative or quieter during this meeting or the same? What do you think? Okay, Sonia's saying talkative. Remember, it was more than he was expecting to pay.
Yeah.
Normally, a male would be quieter. The blind spot is assuming off-putting behaviors of men are intentional. Last one. When dealing with a male client, is it better to show respect towards him or show appreciation for him?
Respect, show respect.
Actually, it's appreciation.
Show appreciation.
Yes, they love to feel appreciated. Thank you, Arita. And this is the male-designed organization. So what are we doing? How do we feel empowered? I've got some letters and I'm going to be telling you what characteristics we need to have to be more empowered. C is for committed. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to be committed. Remember, you've got to be in to win. Assert yourself at the table and have that strong network. But remember, the broken rung. Fix the broken rung. And people will treat you the way you let them treat you. So take that initial first step, please. A, be assertive. Assert yourself. Don't let others come to you and think that it's okay to push you to the side. If you don't believe in yourself, nobody's going to believe in you. C, you've got to be conscious. You've got to be aware of your actions. Look at your blind spots. Think about it. Ask yourself, are you the problem for another woman not achieving, not being empowered? Are you stopping somebody else? D is determined. Don't give up. If I can tell you how many times I fell and I gave up, and I fell and I gave up, and I fell and then no way. Carry on. I never gave up. O is optimistic. Now, we've got to also remember that women coming into the workplace is increasing. This is great news. How do we keep them there? And look at the glass as half full. It's our thought processes. And we've also got to think about, you know, we're often considered emotional beings. Oh, she's emotional. Oh, you know, certain things about our physiology, things that are made, comments that are made. Really, let's be optimistic and stop those negative thoughts telling ourselves we're no good. We are good enough. We stop ourselves. F is flexible. Be flexible and adaptable. And the last one is agile. Everyone's talking about agile. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous world. We need to know how we can move forward. So my advice to women, find your voice and use it. But don't be aggressive. Find your voice and show people you have a voice. Show them your competency and don't give up. Take control of your life. You can only control what you can control. So don't think about things you can't control. Practice self-care. And what I mean by this is stop feeling guilty. Stop feeling guilty if you just want a couple of hours to yourself. That's you recharging your batteries. And for all of those mothers out there, stop feeling guilty. I suffer from it, believe me. Select who you spend time with. Don't waste your time on people who don't deserve you. But don't become the people we despise. Never say no to yourself. When you say yes to someone else, you are saying no to yourself. So don't say no to yourself. Number 6, don't put yourself down. Be empowered and stop thinking if you didn't succeed in this, you're never going to succeed. You will. It's just not giving up. I did it. And Dr. Seuss. I love Dr. Seuss. Be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. Ladies and gentlemen, I've come to the end of today's session. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope that I've actually shed some light on some important concepts.